When releasing your music to platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music, you need to use a company called a distributor to get your music onto those platforms. Now, there are a bunch of different distribution options. Some of them you might have heard of. The one that I'm going to use in this video today is my distributor AWAL, but there are a whole bunch like DistroKid, which is a subscription, only pay $19.99 to upload unlimited albums and songs for a year. There's LANDR, which is also a subscription, but they offer actually a lot more features, which is very enticing. There's CD Baby, which is a one-time fee where you just pay once and there are no subscriptions and your music is up on stores for forever, which is awesome. And then there's TuneCore, which for $14.99 a year, you get unlimited distribution, similar to DistroKid, just a little cheaper. So all of these options are going to get you the same result, but I love using AWAL because you actually don't have to pay anything and they take a cut of your royalties on the back end. They just take a 15% cut, so you don't have to worry about subscriptions or anything like that, and your music is available on streaming platforms forever. So I kind of like that payment structure. You might prefer a different payment structure, but it's all going to get you the same results. So what we need before distributing is conveniently listed down here. We're going to need the cover art. We're going to need our audio file. We're going to need all of the artist info and a release plan, because we're going to be deciding what our release date is and other details about the release process. So I'm going to get going just by hitting the start button, and we're going to get redirected to the uploader. First of all, I just need to name this. I need to name the workspace. We can save and leave later. We can do a whole bunch of things if we don't have all of the assets that we need to release the song right away. And so I'm going to name this after the song. The song is called Broken. It's a song that I wrote myself. So I'm going to put my name, whoops. And I also had a co-producer. His name, or his producer's name, is Rude. And so I'm just going to name my release this, just so I know exactly what it is. This is an internal title. This is not going to be displayed on Spotify or anything like that. So this is good enough for me. Now, next step, I need to add the cover art. Thankfully, I've already exported the cover art right here, but you might notice that it needs to be a perfect square at 3000 by 3000 pixels in the JPEG format, okay? So if you don't have that, there's an easy way to check. I'm over in Photoshop, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to image, I'm going to go over to image size, and I can see what this image size is. I've already changed this to 3000 by 3000, but let's say it's only like 1500. I can just go and type the exact size that I need. I'm going to hit OK, and it'll resize the image. And then all I need to do is just export the image as a JPEG. So I'm going to go to export, export as, format JPEG. I'm going to hit the highest quality possible, click export, and I'm going to save it in a place where I can use it during my upload process. So that's what I've already done in advance. I'm just going to drag in the album art and I'm going to upload it into my distributor. Once that's done, it should be all good to go because it's in the right format, has the right resolution, and for some reason it doesn't like my release name. It's probably because of this plus. There we go. I'm just going to get rid of that plus, and I'm going to head on over to the next step where I upload the audio files. So right here, every distributor is going to have the audio format that is required. It needs to be a WAV that's at least 16-bit 44.1. We do accept up to 24-bit and 96 kilohertz and recommend uploading your highest quality file. The file that I have is slightly higher than the minimum. If I go and I open the info panel, you'll see that it's exported at 44.1 at 24 bits. So that's slightly higher than the 16-bit minimum, but my file is at the 44.1 kilohertz minimum. I'll be honest with you guys, even doing the minimum WAV format is going to be just fine because these streaming services are going to convert it to a streaming friendly format no matter what. It's going to be slightly degraded as far as sound quality. So even just hitting the minimum, as long as it's in this WAV file, is going to be just fine. So I'm going to drag this in. It's going to validate that the file is the proper file. If you try dragging in something like an MP3, it's not going to like that. It probably will reject it depending on which distributor you have, because MP3s are just a pretty low quality file format for audio. I don't need to stay here. It's going to upload in the background. So I'm going to move on to step 3 where I select the artist. You can see that the upload is still going in the background. That's at least how AWAL works. Most distributors do it like this to save you time. Since this is my track that I wrote and I'm releasing it under my artist name, I'm going to select myself as the primary artist for this release, and I have a whole bunch loaded up in advance from past releases, and I'm just gonna select my name. And because I have done a release in the past, I already have my Apple Artist ID and my Spotify ID preloaded up in AWOL. But if you are doing this for the very first time, you might have to actually provide this information. But if you are releasing your very first song, none of your profiles will exist yet, because the act of distributing your song creates your Spotify artist profile, and it creates your Apple Music artist profile, etc. So if you have never released a song before, it's going to generate these profiles through the distribution process. However, if you have changed distributors, for example, if you were on CD Baby and now you are releasing through AWOL and you already do have artist profiles out there, then you will want to go through the extra step of matching and making sure that your Apple Artist ID and your Spotify Artist ID matches the profile that you already have in existence. And the reason for that is you don't want to accidentally create a duplicate artist profile with your new song being the only song and your back catalog of existing music is on a different profile and it just didn't link up, because then you have to go into support and get it all linked up later, and that would be a complete bummer. Now, I did mention earlier that I created this song with a co-producer, and I do want to credit him, and there are a few ways to do this, and it's going to look differently depending on the options that you choose. Thankfully, there's a great knowledge base over at AWOL, and there's probably one at your distributor as well, but this is going to be universal. You'll see that there's primary artists, featured artists, there's remixers and producers, and there's different ways to credit all of them. And you can see here, I can either add another artist, I can add a featured artist, and depending on which one I choose, it will appear differently on Spotify. So it's really important to be clear and intentional about which option you choose. So if I go over to track only primary artist, if I add him as a second primary artist by clicking this button, what that's going to do is it's going to result in the release displaying on the main portion of the artist's Spotify page, as well as their latest release. But if I just make him a feature, it's not going to appear there, and it's only going to display on the appears on section of the release, not on the latest release. And let me go over to Spotify to show you exactly what I mean. So here's my Spotify profile, and if I scroll down, you'll see this appears on section, and these are two tracks that I was featured on. You can see that on this Lowry track, I'm listed as a featured artist, and that displays in the appears on section. But if I'm credited as a primary artist, it will appear here in the singles and EPs. For Rude, since this is an actual song production, it's not a remix, we're going to actually have him credited as a primary artist, since this was a true collaboration. So I'm going to toggle over to new, and I'm going to type RUHDE. And then since this is the first time we've done a track together, I'm going to be prompted to look up his Spotify and Apple Artist ID. It's very important to get this right, so I'm going to click View in Apple just to confirm that this is the right artist, and it's going to link to the right profile. Yep, this is him. We are good to select, and I'm going to do the same for Spotify. Yep, there he is. There's the photo. I want to confirm with the photo and also by clicking over to Spotify and making 100% sure that this is the right profile that the song is going to end up on. We are good. Primary artist Ryan Vatsek, primary artist Rude. That's exactly how it is in the album art, with us both equally credited. The next step is putting in the release information, and this is where I'm actually going to title the song. And this pulled in some information from the first step, but I'm just going to delete this because the name of the song is broken, and that's it. I'm going to release this under my label, Lionbold Records. Language is in English. Sound recording copyright. Since I do own the sound recording, I'm going to type that in as appropriate. Release copyright, same thing. Original release date will skip because it's not released yet. And now this is an important thing that all distributors will offer. It's your UPC code. 99% of the time, if you're like me, you are not going to have a UPC code yet. You are going to want to generate your UPC through the distribution process. And that's how I'm going to do today. I am not going to provide a UPC code. Sometimes in some very specific situations, you will have one, but if you don't, that's normal. I'm going to leave this to no so that AWOL will provide and generate a brand new UPC code for this release. And same thing for catalog number. This is just an internal number, but I don't have one set yet because this is the first time I'm distributing. And so I'm going to have AWOL generate one for me. Now over in genre, the main genre for this song is pop, and the secondary genre, we're going to go ahead with dance. It is very electronic and dance sounding, and so I think this is going to be the most appropriate selection. Next, track information. In the last step, we named the full release, but even for a single, there's the release and then there's the track. Oftentimes they're gonna have the same exact name, but if you are releasing an album, you're gonna have the album name and then you're gonna have the track names, right? And so that's why it's set up this way. I just put in the name of the release for the single, which is Broken, and now I'm gonna put in the name of the song, which is also Broken. It's kind of anticlimactic for a single, but if you have an album that you're releasing, it's gonna make a lot more sense. A lot of repeat stuff because this is a single, this is not explicit. Sound recording, copyright 2022, Lion Bold Records, same info. Do you have an ISRC? Just like with the UPC in the last step, I don't have an ISRC yet. ISRCs are assigned to unique recordings, and because this recording has not been released yet, I want AWOL to provide an ISRC for me. We're kind of repeating some stuff from the last step. I'm going to put myself as a primary artist, and I'm going to put Rude as a second primary artist. I don't have any featured artists. I don't have any additional contributors. Now under songwriters, I do want to credit myself. And then for lyrics, I'm going to add lyrics just by copying and pasting. I'm just going to do a double check to make sure everything's accurate. All right, I'm gonna hit save and close. That's looking good. And I am going to hit save and close again. Okay, track error, we are good. This is how it's going to appear on Spotify. Not guaranteed, this is a preview, but I know that because I put us both as featured artists, there's gonna be a comma and just our artist names listed. There's not gonna be any like featuring or feat in parentheses or anything like that. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the next step, which is my release plan. You could do like a pre-order and all that stuff, but for this track, I'm gonna keep it simple, and I am going to release this song at one of the earliest recommended periods because of very important things like Spotify playlisting, submitting your song to the Spotify curators, getting onto algorithmic playlists. I wanna make sure that I have enough lead time for Spotify to ingest my track and for me to take advantage of all of the features. I definitely don't want to release before the 4-week lead time because I would be missing out on a lot of that stuff. Even though if I clicked an earlier date, it would try to get it out, I don't wanna do that. So I'm gonna select one of the dates that are not blocked out, and the 21st is looking like a great day to release. I'm gonna confirm this date. I'm gonna head to the next step. Now, territories are basically just letting your distributor know where you want your music to be available, and I plan on just having it set to worldwide. You can change this if you choose, but there's no reason for me to deselect any territory, so I'm just gonna move on. And here is where I review and confirm all of the elements that I put into my distributor earlier in this process. So I'm just gonna look everything over. The title, Broken. I'm gonna make sure my album art looks good. My name, Rude, Broken. Okay, I'm gonna confirm. Primary artist number 1, my name spelled correctly. Primary artist number 2, Rude, R-U-H-D-E, spelled correctly. And actually, let me check this, R-U-H-D-E. Let me double check by checking the file name. R-U-H-D-E. Okay, we're good. Definitely don't want to make any typos. I'm going to hit confirm. And here's all the release information. So release title, Broken, Lion Bold Records, AWOL distribution agreement. This is going to match whatever your distributor is. English, Lion Bold Records again. All of this is good. UPC catalog number, AWOL will supply. The main genre is going to be pop, secondary genre dance. Looks good. Here's the track. I can play back to make sure that it uploaded properly. So let's do that. Sounding good. You got a way about you, giving up the only thing you knew. Yep, sounds good. And by the way, if you guys want to listen to this, I'll drop a link below so that you can just at least listen to what you just experienced in this video. And track title's looking good. Broken, English, not explicit. ISRC, that's important. AWOL will supply one. Again, primary artist myself. Rude, featured artist none. Writers myself. Show the lyrics. Lyrics are looking good. Close that out. I'm gonna hit confirm. Confirm. Release date October 21st. Confirm. Territories world. confirm. And any additional comments, I don't think I need to make any specific comments, but sometimes if you're releasing a song with interesting formatting, maybe if you use like Roman numerals, the Roman numerals won't capitalize correctly. That's what I've seen sometimes. And so this is where you would add any additional comments. For example, hey, I need my song title to be adjusted before final release or something like that. And so that's where you would make your appeal, and a real human would look and make sure that everything is good to go before you release. I don't need anything here. I'm going to agree to the terms and condition and confirm that I have all the necessary rights to submit this release for distribution. If I, for example, was not the songwriter, or if I didn't own the master recording, it would actually be illegal for me to do this process. But since I am the master rights owner and I am the songwriter and I have all necessary rights, I'm going to hit confirm because I'm good to go. I'm going to head on to step 9, where I do my final submission. I'm going to hit submit release, which will send this song to Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Napster, Deezer, literally every streaming service. And I'm very excited about that. Everything's looking good, and I am going to submit release actually live here on camera, which is kind of fun. So I'm going to hit the submit button and I am all good. Thanks so much for watching this walkthrough. I hope it was super helpful. And remember, no matter what distributor you use, personally, this process is going to be the same. The buttons just might be in a slightly different place, or the layout might be different, but all of the principles are the same. If you're releasing a song for the very first time and you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And thanks so much for watching all the way to the end. I hope this is super helpful, and I'll see you in a future video.